Okay folks, welcome to this week's Outfitter Tales, brought to you from our new homely studio. What do you think of this new set? Our TV studio.
I'm liking the lights and stuff, mate, because it's actually making you look a bit better under the camera.
Was that called for?
Just say it.
Was that entirely necessary?
Yes. But yeah, makes it feel a bit more homely.
I like the fire.
Yeah, I like the lights.
Like the lights?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fire's nice. The fire's always nice
Yeah.
to have around.
Not sure about all the 3 hours to set it up, but you'll manage.
Obviously, we've got some guys in to help us professionally.
Well, they claim they know what they're doing.
Yeah. And end of the day, we're doing it to give these guys a better show, aren't we?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what we're wanting.
So far, I think we're going in the right direction.
Yes.
And it's nice and warm.
Yes.
Okay, so we've got a great show for you, which is what?
This week we've got some roe deer.
And foxing.
A wee bit of foxing, so I'll be going out this evening and let's see how that goes.
Hope
We
the
know what
weather-
happened the last time.
I hope the weather improves for you. And what else? Yeah, and I'm doing a look at the Lumi, the thermal that I've been using for quite a bit of time now. Just a bit of an update on that.
Yeah. And I'm going to be doing, again, thermal, and we'll have
Do a bit of a comparison.
Bit of a discussion between the two thermals. We're not here to see which one's best. We're basically just going to use what we use them for, and then we'll give you examples of where one's slightly better than the other, given different species, targets, uses. So first thing we're going to look at now is a doe stalking clip.
Good show. It's a good show, this. So we've got the thermal has picked up 2 images just down in the glen. The wind's turned round on us, it's sucking up the glen, so what I need to do is get up the side of the hedge. There's a bit of a dead ground there, a bit of a gully. I'm going to go down the gully, which should be able to get me unseen to the edge of the wood, and from there I can have a look into the opposite banking over the river. And as long as those deer are browsing and don't go down into cover, we possibly would have a shot from there. The approach should have been quite good, and the deer were just down below us now on the banking, so I'm going to try and get, we've got to be careful here for being skyline. The dog's picking the deer up straight away, so they're in there somewhere. It's quite thick on the far banking. It'd be impossible to see just with a pair of binoculars in this light. We're getting the light now, but the thermal should allow me to pick them up if they're still there. But they were moving down the valley. We've got wood products just down below us, which makes quite a lot of noise, so that actually just cover our approach a little bit. And we've got a good wind. The dog's definitely got them. The 2 deer are still there, but they're actually working now that way on the banking. So with this wind, I'm going to have to sort of come round from the top and then drop down in. The deer that we're feeding were just down there now, but they're out of our line of sight. The dog's still picking them up, so I know they're there. But there's every likelihood that there could be deer in here as well. So we've got to be careful because we're going to be skylined. Once we've got below the skyline, then we can work back into the wind. Okay, so there's a roebuck laid just at the base of that beach. I don't want to shoot bucks, so I'm going to try and bypass that. Okay, there's a doe across here. is right behind the birch tree, so I need to try and engineer a shot where I've got a gap. Okay, so I can see the road now. It's just dropped to the left of the branches. This is one of the things I mentioned earlier on about it's really difficult bringing a client in here because you can see the issue with steep banking, awkward shooting position, and what I've got here is a load of birch trees in front of me. So what I've got to try and do is wait until the deer comes into a little gap between the cross branches, and you're almost trying to squeeze your shot into the part of the body that you could see. I've got low heart lung on that deer, so I've just effectively just sort of gone through a little triangle between the branches. You can't afford to shoot through branches because you can get a deflection, then you've got potential for wounding. So anyway, just managed to get a tiny little window between the birch there. And the shot might have been a little bit low actually, but I'm kind of aiming low to get through the window. But anyway, it's down there, probably moved about 20-30 yards and can quite clearly see it on the bank. Now the other issue now is that the recovery of this deer is like crampons and ice picks. I've got to get down the bank, cross the river, up the other side, and then bring the deer back. You can clearly see the deer is dead. So I've got no issue with it getting up and running off because it's just laid quite nicely there. So what I'm going to do here is make the rifle safe and then try and work a route across this ravine. Okay, I can see the deer now. It's just up, just in the top of the patch of brambles. It must have rolled a little bit further down. Okay, so this is a youngish doe where she's fallen. Slid down the bank a little bit. It's absolutely murder getting to her, but the actual perfect position of the shot is just at the back of the foreleg. The heart, this deer's heart sits there, so bang on the money really. So I'm quite surprised that the deer moved at all. And this is probably the most vulnerable part of the glen because this is where it's all been replanted all the way down. They've left the hardwoods, bug trees for a bit of biodiversity, and then the young conifers are all planted with a lot of hardwoods in these little valleys. So it's trying to create a natural, sort of natural forest really, deciduous forest. So the trees are very vulnerable at this early stage, little beech saplings. As I've said many times, I get no pleasure from actually taking a life or shooting deer, but I love my job and I love deer and they need to be managed. so you can see yourself exactly why we do what we do. There was a good buck laid up on the banking, which I could have shot, but I'm not really bothered about shooting the bucks at this time of year. I would have preferred to shoot a younger female, but this is an older doe. She's got no follower, no youngsters with her, so she's probably past the sell-by date really, although in good condition. So again, an ideal animal to take part of the cull plan. So really it's a good job done, successful outcome, and now the hard work begins, because she's got to go all the way down and up the other banking. Okay, so that's now in the row sack, but it's constricted in there, so it'll not be cooling properly. So we've got another 2 or 3 minutes home, so it's fairly quick. Fairly important we get that home quickly, get it out in the wash off area and just let this cool air start to cool it down. So I don't want to leave it now tucked up in that bag, back into the larder and cooling. It's quite cool this morning. It's probably only about 3 or 4 degrees. We've got nice airflow down in here, so it's ideal to let the carcass cool down slowly. So I'll probably leave that here now for about an hour. I mean, we've obviously got no flies around at this time of year. An hour, a couple of hours, just let it drain out, let it cool, and then it'll go down into the chiller, and then we'll flick the chiller on. Nice bit of venison. And actually this deer is destined for the castle owners, which is the ground that we were stalking on this morning. They will be able to say that the deer's been shot on their land by me, part of a careful management plan. I'll butcher it for them, and the air miles are, it's about a 2-minute walk up the road from here to the castle to deliver that. That's what I like about this, field to fork. I think we should mention our policy on that, because I think that's pretty relevant about the ethical side of doe shooting in late season.
Yeah, so January we prefer, in fact we always try, I mean we usually do, all our call plans are set the year before, so we get out and majority of the call plan we do with clients. End of the day, we're running a business here.
Right, well they're paying us to do it.
Yeah, but there's one thing that I detest, and that's doing late season culling, just for the fact that there's nearly fully developed fetuses inside the animals that you're culling, which is not nice.
It's not nice. I mean, in some scenarios you've got to do that, accepted, but I think if you can get ahead of your cull like we do, as soon as we get into the doe season, and follow us first, leave the mature does, move on to the mature does later season, is better for the ethics and the environment and the welfare of the animal, which is what we should be all about. But yeah, we admittedly in some scenarios you've got to take a mature doe, but if we do, we invariably we'll try to go for the older animal.
And yes,
you do have to take a selection of mature.
Yeah. But it's not always nice. So if I'm going to do that, I'll try and take the mature does sort of early January, up to sort of mid to late January. But I sort of draw the line going into February.
Ideally Christmas time if we can get away with it.
If we can.
And then after that we're on followers.
Yes.
I think we should also mention about our policy in relation to this daft rule now in Scotland, where effectively there is no close season now for male deer. I totally disagree with that, because the legislation existed 20 years ago to control male deer if there was a need to control male deer, and it's still in place. So I think it puts pressure for two reasons. One, I think if you're a little bit unethical about how you're going to manage your deer, you probably go shooting male deer all year round, which stresses them, puts them under pressure. I think there's nothing worse than the end of the October red rut, when the animals are stressed, they've been chasing around, testosterone up to heck, and then you're chasing them around again for another, into December, into January.
Yeah, they're not getting any break.
They're just not going to get a break.
They're not going to be able to prepare themselves for the winter, feed up,
get and then you get weather like this.
Storage, and then there we go.
So we will try to stick to seasons where possible, unless there is a need. Unless there is a need to shoot deer.
Obviously, there is certain areas where we've got a job to do, and we get tasked with a job. We have to go and do it, i.e. vulnerable sites.
Yeah.
We have to go and sort of clear the area as much as we can to protect those sort of valuable crops.
But again, we'll still try and do that within the seasons. Yeah. The key to controlling deer population rests with the females. Yeah. Not with the males.
Ultimately.
So chasing males around all year round is doing absolutely nothing.
And to be fair, I have heard rumours as well about them extending the
They're talking about it, and it's been a recommendation to the policymakers that they extend the female season.
What's your feelings on that?
My views on it? You don't need to. You really don't need to.
And would you?
Who on earth wants to be shooting? How ethical is it, or unethical is it, to be shooting a female when she's got dependent followers, or when you're shooting a heavily pregnant female? It's just totally and utterly distasteful, and it's not for me.
And it's just going to paint us as stalkers in a...
Well,
not that we're painting a great light anyway, but it's just going to...
Most professional stalkers that I know don't do it anyway. And we've tried years, we're trying to promote the ethics of shooting, and there's nothing wrong with stalking. Deer need to be managed. There's no predator. There's no natural predator for deer, so they have to be managed. But that doesn't mean to say they have to be managed in an inhumane or an unethical way. It's sustainable and
treated
ethical.
Like vermin.
Yeah, and we're not doing it. We won't do it, and most professionals that I know will not do it either.
Yeah. So I think that's the sort of consensus throughout the sort of stalking community, isn't it? Yeah. Especially here up in Scotland.
It is. It's not the same.
Most
rules have not been brought
most
into
professional stalkers, most even recreational stalkers have taken the choice within themselves to.
Yeah.
Plus, it doesn't help for example, shooting stags all year. When they've cast their antlers, you've got no idea the quality of that stag. We're here to manage deer, and I guess it in an ethical way. But you've got no idea what sort of quality that animal is without its.
And ultimately,
headrest.
It's not good in the food chain.
No.
You don't want to be feeding. You're trying to introduce venison as a sustainable food source. You're trying to get it into supermarkets. And the last thing you want is a heavily rutted stack, which is testosterone up to hell and in poor condition, shot in December, going into the food chain, because it's just not a nice animal. We butcher our own meat, and the quality of meat, everybody comments on it. That's why we won't put a deer in that condition into the food chain. So what's the point shooting it?
And to add on to that, what's the point shooting it if we're getting minimum?
Nothing for it. We're getting very little for venison anyway. That's a whole
different
discussion. We're not even touching that.
Let's not go into that yet. Right, guys, what's your thoughts on the open seasons for male deer in Scotland? Comment below. Me and Chris will look through the comments, and then we can have a discussion about it on the next show. That way we're having a discussion, we're not having an argument. So any valid points you can think of and reasons why there should be an open season on male deer, comment below please, guys.
So you've managed to get a fire going?
Yeah.
I'm going to get this tub. I think it'll hold my weight, this, so we're going to collapse in a big heap.
I won't laugh much if you do.
We're good? We're good.
Yeah. So how's your morning then, mate?
Absolutely awesome. Awesome.
Where'd you go?
I went in the glen. We've got to keep an eye on that because for the castle. Yeah, so June and Patrick asked if it was possible to get them some venison from the glen, so they want to serve that for they're having a big dinner party, all the family coming over, a few guests, and I think it's really nice because they like to serve a raw venison from the glen.
So was it a youngster or a
No,
mature?
mature. Because, like I said, we got to sort of manage that. I mean, as you know, we've got the young trees planted in there, and if it had been a doe and a youngster, I would have taken the youngster. We actually went past the buck. There's a nice buck laid on the banking.
That holds quite a few nice
Yeah,
bucks,
there's some good ones in there, but I don't really want to shoot that if I can help it. So we left that, and then a little bit further on, and it's in the worst possible place in the glen. That bit.
The other side of the bank. All right, okay.
That bit. And we were above it.
You've shot one near there before.
2 or 3 times and said I'm never going to do it again because it's that and that and that. But yeah, but mature doe on her own, she probably mature, probably getting past the sell by date actually, because I would have expected her to have followers with her. I haven't shot any followers from that area, so not the one that I would have chosen had I particularly been picking it. But I think that's probably because of the area and the vulnerability of the site. We've got to shoot a few deer, so, and it'll be good on the table.
Did spendy garlic there?
I did actually, but it was well, you know what it's like. It's almost like abseiling and crampons to get down, and then
the safest option there as well.
Where it go, yeah, absolutely. And then up the other side, dragged it down. I did it right on the edge of the river actually, because it's where that clear fell is. There's not many sort of mature trees.
Yeah.
But there was a few sort of self seeds growing out of the riverbank. It was a bit awkward. It wasn't ideal because I like a suspended growl, period. But we got enough of it to be able to do it. I mean, a cracking day, really. Cracking day.
Anyway, so I remember that banking the last time we did it.
Yeah. What?
Who
did it?
Sorry, you did it.
Okay.
I did some of it.
You were watching?
The camera's really heavy, mate.
Yeah, all right.
But I remember all the brambles and stuff on there.
That's the worst bit. I mean, it's probably the worst. To be honest,
in fact, there's still a couple of brambles stuck in your trousers.
Yeah, they're still there. Look, yeah, bloody scratched and they're the nightmare. But I mean, it's probably that glen. I love that glen. It's fantastic stalking. But as I said at the time, you can't really take clients in there.
No.
Difficult to see the deer, but the problem then is when you've actually shot them, because invariably you're shooting from one bank across to the other bank, which often there's quite a rangy shot. But the problem then is recovery, because it's literally it's the brambles.
Yeah.
It's like trip hazards the whole way, and then snag in, and then over you go.
So you trip into them, the brambles go into your legs, you fall on your face.
In your hands.
When you put your hands down.
Covered in brambles.
In your hands, yeah.
Covered in sticky bobs. And then of course you've got to wade across the river down in the bottom, trying to get up the bank at the other side. Anyway, it sounds like we're whinging, but it's pretty spectacular.
So, how long's the shot?
It was actually exactly 167 metres, to be honest, and we weren't going to get any closer. The problem was that we were above the deer, and it was feeding like sheep.
So you were on one bank and the deer was on the other.
Yeah, with a deep glen in the bottom, but it was feeding like you see sheep feeding, and it was kind of in a patch of heather. So it's kind of front legs are all kind of down like that, and you've got like a hunched position. So, but there were some silver birches. We were kind of above it, and there were some silver birches which had kind of partially gone down in the wind with all the canopy. So
you're behind them.
You're behind them. So you're trying to look at the deer, try not to be spotted by it. The wind was good, and it's trying to get that little shot through that canopy, because as you know, you can't shoot.
Find the gap.
A lot of people are not comfortable with doing that, and I'm not suggesting that you shoot into cover, because we're not doing that. But when you've got that that little window, you've clearly got the branches like that, and you've got the shot. Then you can take the shot. But I mean, you'll have found it. You engineer that and give
with experience. You can obviously you don't always look through your scope and think, right, I'm not hitting anything. You always double check down your barrel, not down the scope, down your barrel.
It's the stuff that's closer to you that's the problem.
Yeah.
Cracking morning, fantastic scenery. Hard work, bob on.
Well done.
Enjoyed it. Yeah, the fox inside of it, I think we should maybe point out that this time of year is ideal. It's ideal for foxes.
Yeah, they're all pairing up.
They're pairing up.
Yeah.
Covers down. We've got a problem now with lambs here. The farmers lost a couple of lambs on the side here.
Yeah,
it's
the
that time of year.
All the lambs are coming early this year.
Plus, we've had the hard weather.
Yeah.
And that hard weather is probably quite unusual for here. We've had about 5 or 6 days, 7 days of frost, which we don't get a lot of frost normally being so close to the coast, but it's been noticeably cold. and that's really pushed the foxes in. We've noticed activity on the back here,
Yeah, a lot.
and probably quite a lot of foxes. It's just sort of concentrated them.
Yeah.
So it's fairly important to get out there and get on top of them, especially now, as you said, they're pairing up.
So therefore, in sort of February, March, April time, depending on where you are in the country, they'll be having obviously cubs. So we want to try and get them before those cubs are born, so that we're not offering any of the cubs.
Yeah,
Again,
because
from
one vixen in 3 months becomes 5, 6,
sometimes
7.
even more. Yeah, and obviously one dog fox might have 2 or 3 vixens in his territory that he's then having to feed as well. So he'll be out taking all the vulnerable or easy to catch prey, which tends to be pheasants, ground nesting birds, all your nice little fluffy rabbits and stuff.
I think again we should point out that one of the reasons for one of the big increases in fox numbers has probably been their ability to adapt. I mean, they're a top end predator. I mean, they've been controlled forever, hard, and the technology is available to us now that we can actually shoot foxes at night with them no lights,
So
with thermal.
Gone are the days of the old car battery
and
lamp.
batteries and lamp and running around.
And
the
everyone
field.
thought with the advent of night vision and
It
thermal
would decimate them.
decimate the foxes.
It's not
but
in any
it's not
way.
happening.
In fact, if anything, there's probably more foxes, and there are two reasons. The pandemic was a big issue with foxes. Nobody was out there controlling foxes.
And deer.
Deer, yeah, well, less of a problem with deer, because that means there's more for us. But with the foxes, they just boomed. But also they've adapted extremely well to the urban environment. So now you've got people feeding them, living in the central London. There isn't any city in the country now that you drive through there at 3 o'clock in the morning, particularly in student areas, after a night on the beer and chips and other things laying down, and the foxes will come on and hoover them. So you drive through any city in this country at 2 o'clock in the morning, and you will see as many foxes wandering around, if you know what you're looking for.
Usually scabby.
Scabby foxes. They're creating a little oasis of fox numbers, which then push out into the countryside.
I actually know of guys or some guys will use bait stations for the foxes, so keep the foxes coming back night after night to the same area. And I know guys that are actually using KFC, Bones and McDonald's.
Because they get used to them.
That's what they're eating in the urban environment. So they're drawing them out of the towns and cities, and that's what they're using as bait.
Right, so I actually like this unit. I mean, I covered in a previous clip the functions of it, but for me, we're looking primarily for deer. I mean, Rav does all the foxing anyway. So basically, size of the unit, very compact, very neat, very easy to use. Controls are very intuitive. Sits in a pack. Quality of image on that is superb. Overall, that is a thermal that I think would probably suit most people, particularly doing the deer management sort of role that we are in day in, day out.
I fully agree. Obviously I used it a bit down in Bedfordshire and Hertfordshire, and it's a cracking little bit of kit. So the Thermtech Wells 650L, I've been using this now for a year, but my preference for what I use it for example the foxes and the deer, so I need a good all-rounder. The Thermtech's the sort of one for me, but saying that, the nut pick stuff's really good as well, so
It's like a car, isn't it?
yeah, it's like one's a Porsche, one's a BMW, or one's a 4x4, another one's a
Yeah, I think
car.
the bottom line is we're using this kit day in, day out.
Yeah,
You're not going to use kit, and I'm not going to use kit
that we don't like.
that we don't like or it doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's in my pouch, and that's in your pouch.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, thanks for watching. That's it for this week. Good night from me.
And I hope you enjoyed the show, guys. Good night from him.
And remember, it's important. Subscribe, like, watch, phone a friend. We need that to keep these shows coming to you. Thank you very much, folks.
And keep the comments coming.